Yes.
That you used to read in 19. One of them was a Mr. Fitzgerald. Did you feel that he believed you?
No.
And do you remember Miss Lines at all? Lines?
Yes. Vaguely, yeah.
All right. Do you remember whether or not you felt that she believed you when you remember Miss Lines at all? Lines?
Yes. Vaguely, yeah.
All right. Do you remember whether or not you felt that she believed you when you talked to her about what was happening?
No. No.
So you didn't, you felt that she did not believe you?
Yeah. I didn't really feel she believed me.
What about Michael Groom?
No.
Did you ever meet with Marilyn Minister?
I can't recall that, no.
Do you remember ever meeting with anybody at Winlaton who was more senior than your caseworker?
No, I probably did, but I just can't remember.
And I'm going to ask you about triad therapy shortly, but do you remember meeting Eileen Slack?
Yes, I remember, yeah.
Do you remember, I withdraw that, did you talk to Eileen Slack about what was happening with your father?
I'm not sure. I can't really recall.
All right. You have told the Royal Commission how you felt about a letter that you received, or I withdraw that, a letter that was written on the 9th of August 1979, and it appears at BGD. Getting the letter sent from Winlaton yesterday telling him that staff knew of the incestuous relationship. She is scared of his anger and rejection of her. Says she doesn't want him hurt. The question I have for you, BGD, is were you also scared of what your father might do to you after he found out the letter?
Yes. Yes.
And do you recall passing on to staff who were supposed to be caring for you at Winlaton that you were frightened of your dad?
Yes. I told them.
And do you remember any action being taken or being given any advice about how they might protect you from him physically abusing you?
No, that wasn't discussed.
Can I ask you now about triad therapy? In your statement, you tell the Royal Commission that you remember a couple of different workers assigned to you. The youth workers ran a program for us including triad therapy, which is a form of group behavioural therapy. We got together in small groups and talked about any issues we had at Winlaton. I remember that the triad therapy program was overseen by Eileen Slack. What did you think triad therapy was for?
I thought it was a waste of time.
Was it explained to you what you were supposed to be doing in triad therapy?
No, I can't really recall.
Do you remember how many sessions you went to as part of that therapy?
I think that was every day.
And over what period of time?
All the time I was there.
Right. And do you remember whether or not Eileen Slack was actually there at that session?
No, but she ran a triad thing on a Wednesday night.
And what did it, and I withdraw that, did you go to the triad thing on the Wednesday night?
A couple of times.
What did it mean, this triad?
I don't know.
Did you talk about your father raping you at any of those sessions?
I'm not sure.
You tell the Royal Commission that you knew a couple of other girls at home and at Winlaton who had been raped by male family members. That's your memory today?
Yeah.
Do you remember whether or not any of the other girls at Winlaton told you that they had disclosed what was happening to them at home, to their workers?
No. Okay. No.
Do you remember it ever being discussed at Triad?
No, I don't.
How did you find out what had been happening to those girls? Did they talk about it?
Yeah.
I want to draw your attention to something about Triad, which is at BGD 7. So it's an attachment to your statement. Do you remember somebody called C. Hodges?
No, I don't.
Right there, BGD is at when I would draw that. I should say it's from the 6th of April 1979. Do you see that, BGD? There's a note there, BGD is at when I would draw that. I should say it's from the 6th of April 1979. Do you see that, BGD? The top there at the top left-hand corner. Is in Winlaton for a couple of weeks as a result of having run away from the unit. There's been some question of whether her father was interfering with her sexually. BGD says that this was the reason for the arguments at home. It was felt there was competition between BGD and her mother. It's felt that Triad therapy will help BGD once she stops blaming everyone else for her problems instead of facing up to her own failings. At the moment, she's not saying much in the therapy meetings, but is exhibiting a lot of anger. Does that jog your memory at all of somebody Hodges?
Yeah.
Do you recall that in Triad therapy, you were made to feel as if you were somehow at fault for what was happening?
Yes, I've always felt that.
And how does it make you feel now to read that document with that notation that I just read to you?
Doesn't surprise me.
I'm going to take you to one other notation on that page. Start right down the bottom and it reads, BGD has only spent 4 years in care and is not a really deprived child. What do you say about that?
I don't know what to say about it.
At any stage, did anything happen in Triad therapy that assisted you to keep you safe from your father?
No.
Did anything happen in Triad therapy that assisted you to deal with what you were going through with your father at the time?
No, they put the blame on the girls.
You've told the Royal Commission about your interaction with police. When you first went to police, you had a negative experience, didn't you?
Yes.
And you felt that police didn't believe you?
Which incident are you talking about?
I'm just going to find the date for you. '74. You say in 2002, this is at paragraph 114, in 2002 you reported the sexual abuse to the Centre Against Sexual Assault. Saw a counsellor but it didn't feel right, and then the counsellor reported it to the SOCIT unit.
Yes.
And then police came to see you. You found the police judgmental and untrustworthy. The police told you that they were considering charging you. What were they going to charge you?
It was a female policewoman, and I felt like I was going to be charged for being a victim.
Did you feel that you were believed at all in relation to what had happened?
No.
And did you feel that you might be charged for telling what they thought was a false story at that stage?
I didn't know what was going on.
Did you receive any follow-up from police to check on your welfare after that disclosure?
No, none at all.
When you went back to the police in 2008, did you get a different reception?
I went back to them on 205 to make the original statement.
And what sort of reception from police did you get then?
Completely different.
At that time, you were going back for the purposes of applying for compensation from victims of crime?
Yeah, for a psychologist.
Okay. And you weren't ready to press charges then because you've explained to the Royal Commission you were frightened of your father and his friends?
Yeah.
When you say you got a different reception, what happened on that time?
I had a really good policewoman.
And did you feel you were believed on that occasion?
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah.
in 2007, you sought and were granted an intervention order against your father. Did you deal with a different police officer on that occasion?
Same unit, but I had to apply somewhere else for safety.
And how were you treated by the police on that occasion?
They were fine.
And then in June 2008, when you wanted to have your complaint fully investigated, you made a number of statements and that led to your father being charged.
Yeah.
From then on, what was your interaction with police like?
Fine.
You mentioned one particular officer who you thought was very helpful during that process.
Yeah, he was.
So after that time, did you feel that you were believed and treated appropriately by police?
Yes, I did.
When you were discharged from the department's care at the age of 17, did you receive any information from the department about any follow-up care that was available to you?
No.
Did anybody from the department ever check on your welfare?
No.
Did you feel that you could contact anybody from the department to tell them what was happening to you?
I could. There was one woman, but I gave up in the end. Finally,
BGD, you've told us that at the time that you negotiated a settlement with the department, you didn't have all your documentation.
That's right.
So you've been able to see documents through this process at the Royal Commission that were not available to you at that time?
That's right.
How does that make you feel?
Annoyed.
Thank you. Nothing further.
I'll come back to you, Mr O'Brien. Is there anyone else who has any questions of this witness?
Sorry, is there someone down there?
Yes. No one else is indicating, are they? Yes, Ms Randazzo.
I just have a couple of questions.
Yes.
BGD, my name is Randazzo. I appear on behalf of Dr Eileen Slack, and I just.
Can you hear Ms Randazzo? BGD?
No, I can't.
I'm sorry. I'll
just
speak
need
up.
to get.
I can't hear.
I'll speak up a little more. Can you hear me now? Is that any better?
Yeah, it's better.
Thank you. All right.
That's better.
Let me know if you can't hear me. All right.
Okay.
My name is Randazzo. I appear on behalf of Dr Eileen Slack, and I just want to ask you a couple of questions about the triad group therapy, how it worked.
Yep.
You said that it was every day, weekday,
Yeah.
that is, isn't it? Monday to Friday?
Yeah.
In the mornings usually from 9 till 10 o'clock? Is that your
I think it was
memory?
mornings, yeah.
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 And there were 3 people who were involved in that meeting. One would be the person who had an issue or a problem, being a resident or trainee from Winlaton. Do you agree with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another.
Yeah.
The other would be also a resident or trainee who used to have the issue or problem. Do you agree with that?
I can't fully remember about these triads properly.
Okay. But
Yeah.
there was also, there were 3 people usually present, and one of them was a youth officer. Do you remember that?
No.
No. Do you actually recall what some of the issues that were discussed in these meetings were?
No, not really.
No. Were issues like problems that you were having with other girls on the unit, or the food, or anything? Was that the sort of place where, if you had issues with any of the things at Winlaton, you would raise it at that meeting?
Some girls did,
Yeah.
and some wouldn't.
All right. Do you recall any of the youth officers who were present during those meetings with you?
No, I don't.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about was this. You said that you don't recall meeting Marilyn Minister. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Sorry. Do you remember what position she held?
No.
All right. Do you remember ever meeting someone called Graham Lord?
No, I don't.
And finally, the triad thing, I think you referred to it as, that was run on a Wednesday night by Eileen Slack.
Yeah.
That wasn't compulsory to attend. You went a couple of times only. Is that right?
Yeah, it wasn't compulsory.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything like a sit-down meeting to discuss issues, was it?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh. Yes, thank you. Nothing further. Thank you, BGD.
God.
Anyone else other than Mr O'Brien? Thanks, Mr O'Brien.
I've no.
Nothing.
And nothing arising. Thank you.
Thank you, BGD. Thank you for your attendance at the Royal Commission, and you're now excused.
Your Honour, the next witness is also by video link, and I wonder if we might have a short break to make those arrangements.
Take a short break whilst that's being organised.
Taking my memory back to Baltara. I'm sorry, I really couldn't answer that with any clear confidence.
All right. In 1979, you became a welfare officer, regional caseworker in inner urban metro region, South Melbourne office. Yep. What did that role involve?
The role involved was an eclectic role. It was there to supervise adult parole, adult probation, youth parole, youth supervision, children's court supervision orders, and supervision of guardianship cases. And often it involved as it went on. It was pre-court. It was a pre-court role rather than an interventionist role.
So it was pre-court, was it pre-court for wards of...
Post-court. Sorry, post-court.
Post-court.
Sorry.
Okay. So you were dealing with children after they had finished their court proceedings?
Yes.
Was that for both wardship as well as children who were there having committed criminal offences?
Later in my career, I would have been for wardship, but I don't recall it at the South Melbourne position, which I was only there for a short period of time.
When you say a short period of time, is it a matter of weeks or months, or how long?
No, it was only months. It started early, very early in '79, and finished mid-'79. I moved to the Littledale office.
In mid-'79, you moved to the Welfare Office Outer East Metro Region, Lilydale. Is that right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And you remained in that role until 1990?
Yes.
And did that role involve similarly looking after children who needed post-court follow-up?
Yes, initially until the system changed in the mid-'80s, I think it was, when the focus, I think, in Victoria went down what was called the dual track system, in which the child protection basically was created at that point in time, and they became, along with the police, pre-court investigations.
All right. I'm just going to focus you on I'll withdraw that just before I'll just move through your CV. From 1990 to 1998, you were the team leader at the unit manager of Western Southern Metro Region, and in 1998 to July 2014, you worked as a family group conference facilitator, correct?
Right, yes.
And until 2014, employed by the department in those various roles?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to take you back to 1979, right through to 1980-81, when you were a welfare officer. How was it that clients would come to you in your role as a welfare officer?
It was usually the cases were allocated from usually the senior social worker at the time.
So did you work alongside a senior social worker, or did you take over a particular client?
No, I usually worked in by myself, unless it was a shared case at various occasions.